Hello, Seiiti Arata. There is a problem that affects your intelligence, how you think, and how you even use artificial intelligence, AI, to help you think. And this is called confirmation bias. And it is everywhere. It's like wearing glasses with a color-tinted lens that would change how you see everything. Confirmation bias is the inherent tendency of our brains to give more weight to the evidence that supports our pre-existing beliefs, to ignore the evidence that contradicts it. And this means that we think in a way that aligns with our pre-established ideas. We interpret new information, we remember past experiences, we even process sensory information according to this confirmation bias. Now, it is a sort of a mental shortcut. It is part of our psychological wiring that allows us to quickly make sense of the world around us. However, while it helps us to make decisions quickly, efficiently, it also leads to distorted perceptions and ultimately to biased decision-making. And the artificial intelligence, the AI, the large language models, LLM, also are affected by confirmation bias. You see, AI and language models are getting smarter every day. They can write stuff that looks really clever. Lots of people think that it's like the future. They could change many industries. They could provide us a lot of insight really fast, but this is where we need to be careful. All this excitement about AI can be a problem. Yes, AI can do some amazing things. It can do many jobs really fast, automatically, can give us new ideas, can completely change how some industries work, but all that excitement can also make people trust AI too much. And you are under the risk of basically not questioning what AI tells you. AI can work with a huge amount of data and make things based on complex rules, but it doesn't actually understand what it's doing, at least it does not understand it in a way that a human can understand. That is why sometimes you might have seen some videos, those viral videos showing some funny mistakes made by AI, because on the one side it can perform in a brilliant way most of the time, but it can also make mistakes that a child would never make, a human child wouldn't make. At this moment, AI cannot yet check if it is making mistakes, if it's just making things up, it's hallucinating, creating outputs that shouldn't really exist. But there is another type of a problem. See, this problem, the hallucination, is a type of problem that will eventually be fixed, because bugs can be fixed. However, there is another type of problem that will be more difficult to fix. And the problem is that AI learns from lots and lots of data that is made by humans. It copies patterns from that data. If the data gathered by AI has biased human ideas, AI will also copy those biases as well. And this can make biases even stronger because often AI gives the outputs that we humans expect. This is confirmation bias in action. And this can lead to a loop of more and more biased ideas. There's this idea of a garbage in, garbage out. GIGO. It's an old saying in the world of computer science. It means that the quality of the output is determined by the quality of the input. So if you feed a computer program with low quality data, well, of course you will get incorrect, low quality results. This principle holds true for AI as well. Now, AI language models learn from the content that they're trained on. This is mostly human generated. They don't come up with ideas or facts on their own. They're just mimicking patterns that they've learned from data that they were fed. Now, in other words, if the training data is filled with bias, with misinformation, the AI can and will reproduce those biases, those pieces of misinformation in the output. It's the case of bias in, bias out. For instance, an AI might generate content that seems to prefer certain political viewpoints over others, simply because the data it was used to train this AI was biased. It might also reproduce harmful stereotypes or outdated information because that was present in the training data. Now, why is that all relevant? Because many of us are increasingly relying on AI blindly to generate content or make decisions. If we're not aware of the potential for bias or misinformation, we might end up trusting AI without having critical thinking. We might overlook the fact that AI doesn't understand context, morality, in the way that we humans do. It doesn't know what is right, what is wrong. It just reproduces the patterns that it knows. So when you are reading an article written by AI, or if you're trying to use some generated content to make decisions, it is crucial to remember the principle of GIGO. Don't take everything at face value. Be aware of potential bias. Question the information. Most importantly, you have to complement AI outputs with your own critical thinking, with your own research. In other words, you have to use AI as a tool, not as some unquestionable authority. And remember that a chain is only as strong as the weakest link. And if you're using a very powerful AI, you might be the weakest link. That is why I recommend you that you visit arata.se/intelligence so you can unlock the skills that you need to have in this exciting time with so many possibilities. You might be influencing the AI to provide you inadequate information because of the anchoring bias. Anchoring bias is a cognitive bias where we give disproportionate value, weight, to the first piece of information that we receive. That is the anchor. We anchor that, our subsequent judgment, our decisions based on that. In other words, once an anchor is set, we tend to interpret newer information from the reference point of that anchor. Let's look how this can impact AI, specifically in the process of generating responses to your prompts. A conversation with AI, in a conversation like that, the first prompt will set the context, the anchor for the conversation. The AI model, trying to provide really coherent, a relevant response, will use that initial prompt as the base reference. So if your first prompt is skewed or biased in a certain way, the responses of the AI will also reflect that bias. So to counter this, it is vital that you craft your prompts carefully. You have to be aware of the potential for anchoring bias. And then you can create prompts that are more neutral, they're more balanced, they can avoid leading the language in a certain direction or assumptions that might distort the response of the AI. Moreover, if you want the AI to disregard previous prompts and restart from zero, you have to explicitly instruct it to do so. You have to, for example, say something like, disregard all previous information. Let's consider this whole new topic. And by doing this, you're effectively resetting the anchor of the AI. You're establishing a new starting point for your AI to work from. However, it is also important to remember that even with carefully crafted prompts, AI is not conscious. It doesn't truly understand the content that it is generating. It is simply predicting what should come next in a text sequence that is based on patterns that it has learned during the training. Therefore, it is always crucial to review the output. You have to use critical thinking when you're interpreting AI-generated content. And just because AI can do one activity really well, you shouldn't assume that it can do everything perfectly. Beware of the halo effect. The halo effect is a cognitive bias where our overall impression of someone, in this case something like an AI system, a large language model, influences how we perceive their specific traits. For example, if the AI system performs really well in one task, we might unconsciously assume that it is really great, that it will excel in all other types of tasks, even if these other tasks are completely different in nature. Let's take, for example, a code writing AI. Let's say you used AI to generate some code for some complex calculations, and it did an amazing, fantastic job. You're very impressed. This positive impression might lead you to overestimate the capabilities of the AI in other fields. Then you ask the same AI another question, like about a historical figure like Aristotle. You might ask something like, hey, what would Aristotle say about climate change today? And then AI will generate an answer, but here is where the halo effect might deceive you, because the AI answer is just a guess. At best, it is a fabrication, is what we call everything is an AI hallucination. The AI hallucination occurs when the AI system generates outputs based on patterns that it has seen in the training data. But you see, those outputs don't necessarily correspond to reality. The AI doesn't really know what Aristotle would say about the climate change, because Aristotle lived in a time before the discussions of climate change. However, because you've already seen the AI doing so well in a different task, for example, the writing some piece of code, you might be more inclined to take the subjective hypothetical answer as truth. This is the halo effect in action. It is crucial to remember that while AI can be incredibly powerful and useful, the capabilities vary greatly depending on the task. So when you're using AI, it is important to apply critical thinking. You have to question the outputs. You also have to understand the limitations of the technology, and in this way, we can avoid falling into the trap of the halo effect, and we have to be aware of these potential AI hallucinations, and to avoid falling into all those pitfalls of cognitive biases. These AI hallucinations, what do we have to do? It is crucial to sharpen your critical thinking skills. In our Intelligence Arata Academy training, you'll be given comprehensive curriculum that can help you to do just that. You can learn how to think better. You can remember what you need at any time. You don't have to distrust AI. That's not the point. Instead of that, you have to learn how to use it effectively, responsibly. You can start to think in a better way by visiting arata.se/intelligence.